Good morning, friends and family. I don't think I have any friends. It's all family to me. Good morning, family. I have to keep adjusting myself. Good morning, good morning. Who do we have this morning? Looks like we got Sue and Renee, and Mother Dice, and Mandy, and Elaine, Tristan, Laura, people coming in early. My days are always weird, people. I don't understand. Get a healthy life. Get a healthy life. I can't explain. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. I don't want anyone to get confused with that. I'm any kind of insightful person in anything. I got the temple behind me. It's overgrown. I think there's a reason why. We'll talk about things that seem kind of deep, but I don't want anyone to think that I'm any sort of I'm not a teacher. I'm not any kind of anything. You know what I am? I'm a guy who used to believe in all the BS. I used to believe in the modern world. I used to believe that we're doing what we're supposed to do. I used to work in corporations, used to chase the wealth, eat my GMOs, and I think I'm just kind of sharing my little bit and piece of it. Like, I try to get from you guys what I can get, and I'll share with you the bits and pieces that I have. But I don't want anyone to be confused and think that I think I'm anything. I'm not. I'm a guy. I'm sharing my experiences. I'll learn from as many of the diverse friends that I have, and I'll try to regurgitate it back out. But I don't want anyone to be confused. I love the music. I love chant. I love the chanting. I love all of that. Don't be scared. I'm not religious in any. I don't even know what that means anymore. I more and more I think I'm probably going to stop even mentioning it because I think there's just truth. There's just truth. There's no religion. There's no science. There's just truth. Either it's true or it isn't. And everybody's got their own little belief structures, which is fine. But don't let that scare you away. Just family. That's all we are. We're all just learning. But let me tell you what I was thinking about this morning. I love ancient archaeology. I love looking back. I think our wiser days were probably behind us, and we've given up on a lot of the social, spiritual wisdom that's been handed down. And I think it's brought about a lot of sickness throughout the world. We always go back to colonization, right? Deleting everybody's history. All of this socially evolved wisdom that cultures whittled in through because this thing works and this thing doesn't work over thousands of years, right? The longest running clinical trial study of human behavior was done prior to colonization, and they deleted all of it, or most of it. So I like to look back. I love pictures of temples. I don't know why. I don't know why, but every time you look at a picture of a temple too, they're always covered, overgrown, roots coming out, moss everywhere. Nobody's upkeeping them anymore. Perhaps because we lost the value of the psychological benefits of meditation, knowing oneself, being attached to oneself, exploring your brain. Like, I was off in Brain Land this morning. I was in Brain Land. I was watching Great Talk, Great Talk. Who was this? I posted it. I think I posted two of them. A brother, and I know that I've heard one of his talks before, but I usually, when it comes to brain science, I lean on James Fallon. This is Daniel Amen. So I was looking at some of his talks on the brain, and it really leads me back down to this thought of We have, Billy said something, just nailed it. We have an abusive society. We have an abusive society. And abusive societies create brains that are tweaked for thriving in abuse, right? Just like a person who lives with an abusive spouse, whether psychologically or physically, your brain will adapt to it, and it'll put you in survival modes. Like I don't think that we just posted a quick little meme. I don't think that we have a mental illness epidemic. I believe based on what, and I'm not a psychologist. Don't let it, again, I am an automation engineer. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a psychologist. But based on what they say, our brains are just adapting to the illness in our society, right? We have a mentally ill society, or we have a society that's tweaked to create what looks like mental illness to us, right? Those of us who have a birth privilege, who have a good life, we look at those who are a little more violent and aggressive, those who do things we don't understand, and we call it mental illness. But in reality, it's the brain adapting to survival in a competitive time. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the temples are covered. The temples are covered because we don't use them anymore. The temples are covered because we've lost the value. We lost the insight to see the value in peace. Peace in the brain peace. Peaceful conditions and environment that cultivate brains to create peaceful, productive, innovative human beings. And we allow the development of a society that creates competitive, forceful, and when you don't get what you need, violent human beings and brains. I always say that our work is always in the mirror. It's always in the mirror. Our politicians, our leaders, the ones who write the rules for our society that made it so sick, they do it on our blessing. They do it with our consent. Someone mentioned the other day, they said, what is that I hear in the background? I don't know if you guys can hear it. There's a trickle. There's a trickle in the background. Somebody said, I think on my last stream, I turned it up. I'm making a deer chaser. It's an old Japanese device. It's bamboo. Water trickles through it, and it moves back and forth. It makes a little sound. It scares deer away. I'll have to show you a picture of it. Let me see if I find a picture of it. But that's that sound in the background. Everywhere I go, I take my peace with me. Everywhere I go, I do my best to not let my brain be tweaked for survival. I take my water with me where I go. Let me see if I can find a picture of this deer chaser. Because I have a fountain in here. I have an indoor fountain. Always got to have a fountain. Here it goes. Here's one right here. I have an indoor fountain. This is what a deer chaser looks like. So anyway, I had to crank the water up, and then water goes in the bamboo, and it moves back and forth, and it makes a clicking sound every time the bamboo hits. I'm not done with it. I used to have one. I make them out of bamboo. It's just a fun thing for me. But I always have water. I have my aquaponic system. I have my koi. I love watching them swim. Got into a good conversation yesterday. A lady who's putting in an aquaponic system. I told her, when you put your aquaponic system in, it's not just about growing food. It's not just about eating food in a healthy way, the way that we've always eaten it. It's also about peace. We have a very aggressive society. You go into the business world, you go into your corporate America, you go work for a boss, you go do things that we have never done in evolution for 200,000 years. We were never forced into labor. We actually lived our lives. We did the things that made us happy. We did the things that were peaceful. Was it a struggle? It absolutely was a struggle. But we spent our day in the sun, which is another important part about it. Spent our day in the sun, taking in that vitamin D3. D3 you can't get from anywhere else, and it's introduced to your immune system in ways that's necessary. You ever notice when you almost get to the beach, you feel good? You ever notice when you're in the sun, you feel good? That's a chemical reaction. That's not psychological. Well, maybe it is partially, as they start to study this, but you need to be in the sun. You need to be an environment that cultivates peace in your brain, an environment that doesn't cultivate competition. Competition, it's a horrible thing. The only thing we should be competing against is the next asteroid that blows this planet up. We should only be competing against the next volcano that blows up, wants to kill a bunch of humans and all the life around it. We need to be competing against these things with innovation. We don't need to be competing with each other, which is why I don't think corporations shouldn't exist. I don't think corporations should exist. I don't think money should exist. I think that it sent us down this horrible, horrible road, and it locks us all into competing with each other and fighting to take so you don't get to have. And that competition-based society is breeding this mental illness epidemic that everyone's talking about. And so the answer, it's not drugs. The answer isn't drugging people and giving them synthetic highs to try to get them to be okay with continuing to push in this increasingly competitive environment. Because it's going to blow up. It's going to blow up. It always blows up. You can't go down the road with a society where you're cranking out a large percentage of people who are tweaked at the lower levels for survival through violence. It just doesn't work. It's going to blow up. So we don't want to give people synthetic highs. You don't want to go out to the bar on Thursdays and Friday nights to make things work. You don't want to take your pharmaceutical drugs. You want to find real happiness. Damn it, you know what's happening? Y'all killing the crabs. Let me tell you something. Y'all know y'all killing the crabs? I have to post the link, but you can find it on the internet. There's actually a study that shows that the crabs are going crazy because y'all are taking so much daggone Prozac and peeing it in the water that it's flooding the beaches, and it actually has an effect on the crab's brain that makes them go crazy. We are nuts. We are nuts. This is a completely unsustainable path. Big corporations are criminal. Everything they do is criminal. They're based on like they was saying, I posted something this morning. They say crime pays. And then of course there was this big campaign. This is going back into the 80s. They say crime doesn't pay. Y'all remember was it McGruff the crime dog? This was an American thing. I don't think McGruff made it outside of America. McGruff the crime dog. Crime doesn't pay. We'll get you. I disagree. I think crime always pays. I think in a competitive society, crime is required. It is a required element. You will always have those who living in the most scarce environments. They'll do things that are against those rules of society, the criminal, the crime at the bottom, growing some plants, doing some things that are socially unacceptable to the people at the top. Crime will always exist in a competitive society that's monetary based because crime pays. Doesn't always pay the criminal, but it always pays the system. It always pays the society. You always pay. Crime will always exist and never go away, from legislators to the prisons, to the people who feed the prisons, to the bars and the locks and the gates. Why are we pushing our society in an increased psychopathic direction? Can somebody answer me that question? We know that this is ill. I think we need to keep calm. We need to uncover the temples. We need to think about why temples litter this entire earth. Everywhere you dig down, you find societies, and all of those societies had temples like you wouldn't believe. And we let those temples become covered up because we lost the value of peace. We don't have a society that creates peaceful humans. We have a society that creates criminals. We have a society that creates people so we can judge and feel better about ourselves. but we're a part of it. We maintain it. We help it to be managed. We work for these corporations that are buying these politicians and these leaders that are creating the drugs to treat side effects and not fix people. Like one of the things, brother, oh man, what is his name? Brother Amen. Brother Amen. Brother Daniel Amen, psychologist. One of the things he said, if you watch two of his videos, two of his lectures I posted this morning, I think he did 2 TED Talks. Is that the brain is constantly evolving for its environment. The people you associate with most will determine what happens with your brain. That there are different sections of the brain. I mean, his research, it equates what Dr. Fallon found, right? But he did 83,000 brain scans. There are different portions of the brain that are used for love and empathy, the ability to have fear and aggression. We are cranking out people en masse who are highly aggressive, who are highly fearful in multiple countries all throughout the world. And we continue to let people who have no grasp of the human brain make the determinations over what we do about it. We have to stop letting politicians and leaders answer the important questions, and we need to push the professionals to answer those questions. We need to think about, why did the ancients always have so many temples? What did they find out over the 200,000 years of social study of human beings? That the most prominent things to create wouldn't be military industrial complexes, but temples, places of peace and meditation. I think they knew a lot more than what we know today. I think they were in tune more with being human and cultivating human brains than we are today. I think they knew. Like one of the things Brother Daniel said is that the human brain, it excels at innovation when it's tweaked for innovation. It excels at aggression when it's tweaked for aggression. It excels at violence and competition when it's tweaked for that. But it excels at collective development when it's tweaked for that. Why do we employ human brains to do things that are lower on the evolutionary ladder? Why are we utilizing human brains for menial labor? Menial labor, what is that? I was going to post something about menial labor. I was afraid people were going to say, menial labor? I know what that is. That's the guy with the shovel and the wheelbarrow. Yeah, I agree. As he's going to the corporate office. We shouldn't employ human beings to do that. That's menial labor. No, that's not what I'm saying. Menial labor is any labor beneath the ability of the human brain. That's your corporate job. That's your accounting. That's your banking. That's what you do. If we can automate out those things so we can cultivate your brain, why wouldn't we do that? Wouldn't that be the next step in evolution? Wouldn't that be the paradigm shift to start cultivating human brains, to inspire them, to challenge them, to release them, as opposed to put them in a menial job where they know how to do their accounting, where they're not creating new brain connections? Like one of the things Daniel was talking about in his lecture was that every time you learn something new, your brain makes a new connection. Every day you don't, it decays. We're decaying our brains in doing menial labor that we do well and we're used to. What if we had a society where we cultivated children's brains? What if we let children be what they are? What if we were the last ignorant generation to employ the human brain to do menial labor for big business corporations that are all crime-based, all based in slowing down evolution and the acquisition of wealth? What if we started to push these kids into places where they just lived life and they explored? What if, like I posted something this morning, what if we had thousands of Nikola Teslas? What if by design we're supposed to have thousands of Nikola Teslas, millions of them, but we refuse to have an innovation-based productivity, peaceful society because we keep murdering them. We keep tweaking their brains for aggression and violence because they live in war zones or they live in poverty in Alabama, in Atlanta, New York City, in Palestine, right? What if Turkey, impoverished areas in the world, what if we were the last stupid generation to work for corporations? And every generation from here on out, we cultivate. We sent them away to go learn, go study with this music master, go study with this drum major, go study with this artist, go study with this painter. And one day it just clicks in that kid's brain and they make warp technology. Now we can fly to all the planets in the solar system. Get all the diamonds you want, get all the gold you want. There's oil everywhere. We don't have to kill each other over it. I think there are reasons that every continent on this planet is littered with temples. I think they knew when you raise children to be thinkers, when you cultivate their brains, they're fantastic and phenomenal. I think that in the past, we did live in aggressive times. I think we lived where the whole planet was trying to kill us, from short-faced bears to maybe velociraptors and saber-toothed tigers. And that we had no choice back then, that we had to focus on cultivating brains and innovation, how to make a bow and arrow to survive, how to take a boomerang, how to find food, how to figure out what the medicinal plants are. And this root's got to be boiled, mixed with this, that, and it does this. One of the longest clinical trial study in the history of the human race without any medical equipment. We've fallen off the rails. We're drugging our people. We're killing them with society. We're breeding mental illness. And we think that this is going to end somewhere nice. Like, I don't get into the false flags. I don't talk about it because, one, it's not my thing. Two, I don't really know what's true and what's not true. What I know is after all of these mass shootings and things are done, they always try to take rights. They always want to write some more laws. They always want to take more freedom. They always want to restrict society more. And the more you restrict it, the more you restrict freedom, because law is the opposite of freedom, the more we create a competitive society, the more we get narrowed down into a funnel of competition. Very few things we can do to make money, to survive. Very few things. You can't grow food. You can't burn wood. You can't collect water. You can't do the things to survive. So you're slowly boxed into this wealth acquisition funnel where you're competing more and more and more. And the bigger the bottom gets, the bigger we get, the more kids we have, the more we grow, the more people on the bottom, the more psychopathic people. But they're not psychopathic. They just have brains that are evolving for the scarcity that came with their birth. We can fix it. We can completely fix it. One of the things I like to say is we need to let teachers be teachers because they're professionals. We need to let doctors be doctors because they're professionals. We don't need central management of any of this, from police to military to whatever. These people are professionals. They don't need to be controlled by this psychopathic elite. We got to go back to being smarter. We're destroying our planet. We're destroying the environment. We're poisoning everyone. We're poisoning each other with this idea that we should have jobs and work for corporations. No, you shouldn't. You should evolve. You should innovate. You should work to support your community and your collective. Our times are so sick and we're cranking out so many sick people. We're approaching peak, I don't know, I don't want to call it mental illness, but we are certainly approaching some sort of peak violent. It's like peak oil, peak violence. I don't think they want to uncover the temples. I think that they want people to not focus on there's something greater. I don't think they want you to focus on a paradigm shift. I think they just want to make as much money as they can. I think they want to collect as much power as they can. Every government, all the leaders We need to do a government exit. Something like that. Like I think we need a worldwide stand down. We need some sort of a rebirth of wisdom and a deletion of anything that would make profit of taking the life of a human being. Imagine millions of Nikola Teslas, millions of Einsteins. How far have we been set back? How far has money and greed and big corporations and taking this feudal type of government and creating these little governments to manage everybody in the human farm, how far has that set us back? Because we can't think deep enough and we've lost our sentience. I think maybe we had it and maybe we lost it. We lost the ability to be human beings. Human beings. You know, Jasmine says some people think that we're divine beings in flesh, that we're souls and spirits. Perhaps. I don't know. I do know that we aren't supposed to be more violent than bacteria. We're not designed to be more violent than velociraptors and Tyrannosaurus Rexes. That's not us. We're bad at that. Like, look at our fingers. Do you see claws? Look at our mouth. Do you see fangs? Any fangs in there? Do you got any of those? Look at our muscles. Are we as big as the grizzly bear? No, we're not. We're these little frail meat things. The only thing we do well is think and love. And the idea that we have technology that can do everything else better than we can, except for think, create, innovate, and love, we're holding ourselves back. We got to stop competing with each other. We have to make a better future for the kids, and we can do that. But you got to release what's holding us down. You got to release this money. You got to release this need to work for these corporations. You got to release your tribalism. You have to connect with people all over the world. You want to continue to create more brain connections and pathways. We got to get our leaders brain scanned. We got to get them all brain scanned. It should be obvious now. Whether we have the next Catholic bishop diddling little boys. Come on, man, seriously. Why have we not brain scanned these people yet? We know that their brains aren't functioning. We know that there are gaps in activity all throughout their brains. There is no other reason why somebody would do that. There is no reason why you would send drone after drone to bomb children. There's no reason why you would bomb weddings and sleep at night. Your brain is not functioning right. Stop cheering these people. Stop clapping for them. Don't watch Obama flicks, man. Obama Netflix. Oh my gosh. Don't. Stop cheering these people who need brain scans, who need it. We know we can fix them. Brother Daniel was talking about that these brains are fixable. They've taken children who've had a loss of activity in their brains and they've cultivated activity in their brains. And they've taken kids who were they were like D students, and the example he gave, and they took them up to B and A students. They were struggling in school because they didn't have the ability to learn because they had something in their past that their brain was tweaking them to not innovate, to not be able to do a study and take a test, but to fight. We're not fighters. Where the fangs at? Where your fangs? You're not a fighter. You're a punk. We're a punk species. Anywhere you put us, we die. We die. We can't swim. We barely walk well. Everywhere you go, every environment, there's an animal that's designed to use us as food because we are just thinkers. We are not violent. Stop pretending we are. We just used our innovation to make big, massive metal machines to kill people more efficiently. And we keep cheering people who want to do that as an idea of solutioning a problem. We need to be adults, people. We got to go back to that. It's like I posted something yesterday. I don't know how much trouble I got in, but I said, why do you call the police on other human beings? Why do you call a man with a gun or a woman with a gun to a situation you can solve with your brain? Why? Why would you do that? Now, there are times that you gotta call somebody with a gun. Again, we do have a lot of psychopaths running around. I don't blame them for who they are. Our society made them who they are. But there are those times you need a person with a gun. But that's few and far between. Why are police interacting with these kids and the kids are ending up dead so often? Mostly poor white kids, and then it's poor black kids, but that's another whole discussion. Why do we do this with nations? Why are you calling a man with a tank and a drone as opposed to a leader who actually has an intellectual ability to sit down and talk between Israel and Palestine and solve the problems? Because we keep voting for psychopaths. Y'all don't ask for the brain scan resume. Ask for the brain scan resume. You know, if I was an actual candidate for any of this crap working for, and I lost my ever-loving mind and I decided I would run for some office in government working for either the cult psychopathic parties of the Democrats and the Republicans, if I ever that crazy, you would never hear anything come out of my mouth that we need to go kill somebody. The minute, you don't even need a brain scan resume. Let me ask you, have you ever murdered anybody in your life? Have you ever genocided? Have you ever murdered thousands of people in your life? Would you ever come up with that as a solution for anything? Well, we need to be tough on Iran. We need to be tough on North Korea. It's insanity. But you know what? The kids are starting to get it. Did y'all? Oh my God, I might have to show you this. I didn't know what I was going to talk about today, but the kids are starting to get it. Let me show you. This is how I know the kids are starting to get it.
Meanwhile, the United States ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, has also been on the receiving end of some sharp criticism. She went to the University of Houston to make a speech and got the following welcome.
I'm here today following a very busy few weeks in American foreign policy.
Nikki Haley, the blood is on your hands! You continue to sign off on the genocide of a native people. You are an accomplice to terrorists and colonizers. Woo!
Nikki Haley, you can't hide. You signed off on genocide. Kids aren't that dumb. There was at some university. I forgot what university this is. I'll post it. But they heckled her. I think they heckled her off stage. The kids aren't dumb. They know what genocide is. They're intact with their Christianity or their Muslimism or Islam or Hindu or atheist. The love in being a human being and not murdering other people and letting them starve. The kids get it. Why don't you? Why don't you get that starving and murdering people will just create more violent people? We're you know, if the United States wants to come to your country and develop something, look at the United States resume. Take a look at it. Are they creating good societies? Are they creating good people? Are they doing good things around the world? Have you looked at their resume? Have you checked their brain scan? Do those leaders know what they're doing? John Bolton, Henry Kissinger, one of the greatest war criminals of our time, still walks the earth fine because nobody will scan his brain and realize it's barely functioning. You can't tell me if we scan Nikki Haley that her brain works. You might say, it's just her job. She knows she's lying. Everybody knows she's paid to look the other way. You can't do that. Would you? Would you? Mom, dad, you got kids, you got a job, you're productive in life, you're doing good things. Would you actually go like this for genocide? Would you walk out the room when 200 people are being shot by rifles and say, I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm not even going to listen to anybody talking about it. You don't do that as a job. That's not a job function. If you do that, you are a psychopath. If you went to work tomorrow and your boss said, you know what? I'm gonna murder a couple hundred people. I'm gonna need you to not look this way. Just look this other way. I'm gonna keep sending you a paycheck. Would you do it? No, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it. Don't let this trigger your identity politics. Don't let the names of these people, the parties they work for, or their groups. A psychopath is a psychopath. A person with a non-functioning brain is a person with a non-functioning brain. I'm not saying Nikki Haley needs to be in prison. I'm not saying Trump and Obama and the rest of them need to be in prison. Not necessarily. I'm saying that these people don't have functioning brains because they do things you wouldn't do. They do things your kids wouldn't do. They do things your friends wouldn't do. We're not violent people. They're doing things that the psychopaths we put in prison are doing, the mass murderers, because their brains function the same way. They're functioning. They're really good. Like James Fallon to talk about how the psychopaths, they observe society. They observe you. They're very charismatic. They know how to talk because they evolved to be that. Remember, they're not sick people. It's our society that's sick, right? Your brain is functioning because when you look at television and you see kids being shot, you don't like it. It doesn't feel good. You know, you're watching a movie and something bad is about to happen. You kind of look away because you don't want to see the gore because your brain works. But why would you continue to cheer for people to lead the world whose brains don't work? It's obvious their brains don't work because they're not as empathetic as you are. They don't have that ability. I was hopeful to see this. I find hope everywhere. I find hope because I think I do start to see, I'm starting to see there are people who are starting to question the idea of using violence and murder to solve problems. And that probably isn't the best way to go with our world. Sister Jeannie just said humanism. We've got to definitely focus on what does it mean to be human? What kind of world do we want our kids to grow up in? Do we really want them to grow up in this world? Do we? Do we think this ends well? Ellen, psychopaths are highly intelligent. They are. Psychopaths are more intelligent than we are. They spend their whole life focused on one thing: how to play you in this society, and they thrive because that's all they focus on. You know what you're focusing on? Is this good coffee? I need a job. What kind of car should we drive? Baby, where are we going for vacation this year? You're focused on all these things. Why is my son only getting a B in math? He should have an A. You're focused on all these things. And all they're doing is focusing on how do I compete to outcompete these people who are focused on all these other things. How do I get that promotion? How do I get elected? Who do I have to kill? What do I have to do? What do I have to say that these dummies will believe that the last dummy before me lied about too? How can I say it in a way that they'll think my brain is functioning like theirs, when really my brain is functioning in a society full of survivors and scarcity? Our problem is us. Our problem is these temples are covered up and we don't use them anymore. Don't be, I know my Christian friends, they're looking at, but that's not a Christian temple. Yeah. There's a reason your pastor and your minister, they don't want you focused on meditation. There's a reason why they don't meditate most of the day like some of the ancient religions, more ancient religions and cultures did. They can't do the things that Christ did, right? And that's scripture. Greater things I have done, you will do. When you see a Christian pastor walking on water, you know you found somebody who's in tune with whatever this multi-dimensional quantum physics, epigenetics, spiritual holiness, righteousness across all these religions, this thing actually is. These people are actually in tune with. But if you have one that can't do that, and he avoids every scripture on meditation and he's just playing you. He's not living the lifestyle that faith teaches, and he can't do the things that Christ thing could. That Moses thing, the Muhammad thing, the Buddha thing. They can't do it because they aren't it. They don't have the spiritual gifts because they're not spiritual. I'm not saying all your pastors and all your ministers. I'm not saying that. But you can look at some really good indicators. Again, you look at Nikki Haley, okay with murdering people, and looking the other way in genocide, you know something's wrong. You look at the presidents who always cheer that in Congress, that always goes for that. Look at your pastor. What does your pastor say about Israel? Give them the psychology test. No, give them the spiritual test. Do you read your Bible? Pastor, what should we do about Israel? Have your pastor say, oh, we should support Israel. No spirituality, spiritually dead. Covered up the temple. Okay with the temple being overgrown because they don't want you to meditate. They don't want you to be in tap with whatever this God thing is, because it might tell you what was written in all those books and scriptures, to not judge people, to not murder people, to take care of the least among us, the weak, the voiceless, not to murder them and take what they have. I know I kind of keep going back to Israel and Palestine, but it's one of the big crises of our days. But it's a good litmus test indicator for determining who you're dealing with. Deal with good people. You know why I get on here? I smile every day. Where Brother Ray at? And I'm incongruous. I seem incongruous because we talk about difficult topics. We talk about a lot of bad things that are happening. I'm always smiling. I'm still laughing. I am a believer. I believe all this stuff goes well. I surround myself, goodness, I guess I call him Daniel Amen, from the lectures I posted today. One of the things he talked about is how your brain, it does tweak itself also it tweaks itself for survival and thriving with those you spend most time with. Who do you spend most time with? I spend most of my time with good people. I'd rather be alone than spend my time with somebody struggling in this world to find peace and joy. I spend my time with people who they seem to have that sense of peace. I don't spend my time with people who are struggling with it and they're fighting with it and they're angry and they, hate. I hate Trump. I hate Obama. I hate these people. I hate my job. I'd rather be alone. I'd rather go sit out in the sun. I have a sense of peace because I was taught to have a sense of peace. I have a sense of peace because life makes a lot more sense and it goes a lot better when you have a sense of peace. When you have a sense of peace, you don't really have a sense of urgency. You're okay with how it goes. You understand that all of this is for a reason and a purpose that we don't understand. I don't really need to understand it. I'd love to understand it, but I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart. I just know that we're supposed to talk about good things. We're supposed to do good things. We're supposed to support good people. We're not supposed to support bad societies. We're supposed to support good societies. Good and bad, they blurred these lines and we got to unblur them. How did this happen? How did we actually allow good to be bad and bad to be good? Michael Jackson messed it up for everybody. That song, what's that song? I'm bad. I'm bad. You know it. Yes, you're bad. Damn it. Stay away. You're not coming to my house. You need to help the psychopaths. You don't need to promote them into government. You don't need to vote for them to be your pastor or your minister. You need to give them a litmus test. You need to let's get a brain scan happening. You don't need to make them the police and the sheriff. No, wrong way. Bad. Good and bad. That's it. So, who was this? Emrys. Oh, Emrys was deep as a river, was just deep and long yesterday. He dropped a big bomb. I had to quote him. What did Emrys say yesterday? He said, if a law is good, it doesn't have to be enforced. Wow. Is anyone grasping the depth of what he just put down? If it's a good law, it doesn't have to be enforced. Think about that. How many laws do we have that has to be enforced? How many police do we, how many guns, how many MRAPs and tanks and SWAT teams? And because almost every law has to be enforced. If it's a good law, if we collectively think about this law and think, you know what, this is a good thing for our society, why would anyone have to enforce it? We would all be behind it. But if we're not all behind it, obviously something is wrong with that law. Powerful statement, powerful statement. Sue said walking on water is metaphoric. We can walk on our government. We can walk above it. It's a maritime law of the sea. We can rise above it. Outside of the scriptural stuff, I won't go through, but it definitely can fit in as a metaphor. We can rise above evil things. We can rise above evil people. We can rise above supporting evil, because at the heart of it, we're not evil. We don't feel good when we do evil things. If you feel good when you do something that's evil, you need to have a brain scan. It's not who we are. Most people aren't this way. But unfortunately, we give microphones to those people, because a lot of people with peace, you know what we do? A lot of people with peace, we sit back and we just watch. We have peace. We'll go sit in the greenhouse. We'll go sunbathe. We'll relax, grow some plants. And just, you know what? The world will go how the world will go. We got to have peace, but we have to be engaged. We were talking about engagement yesterday. People of peace, you can't just sit back and let it go. You got to do. You have to speak and have peace with where it goes. You know, it's like that old saying, the old guy who's drowning, you know, and he doesn't get involved. He says, Lord, save me. Then a boat comes by, and the guy says, get in the boat. He says, no, my Lord will save me. And he's still paddling. Boat goes by, another boat comes by. Lord, save me. You know, the guy says, get in the boat, dummy. I'm not getting in the boat. My Lord is going to save me. I got peace. He's coming. Another boat comes by. My Lord is going to save me. And the guy drowns. And the guy goes to heaven. And God says to him, he says, Lord, why didn't you save me? I had peace and I was trusting in you. And he said, dummy, I sent you 3 boats. We have to be engaged. We have to get involved. We can't have so much peace and spirituality that we're useless. You have to have peace, and you have to have that peace and that spirituality, that the outcome of whatever you do, the outcome of whatever you say that is positive and good and just and righteous will go the right way eventually. You don't just sit back and enjoy that peace. You're supposed to share your peace with the world. You're supposed to share your peace, your spirituality, your balance with everybody. You're supposed to be the yogi. You're supposed to be the guru. You're supposed to open your mouth and teach us how you have peace in this crazy society. I talk about it because this is what I think we need. But you need to talk about it because there's so much you know in your peace, but you're hoarding peace. Oh, peace hoarder. Uh-oh, I think we got a new term. There are those who are hoarding money that broke the world. The big business, the corporations, the business class broke the world. Yes, because they're hoarders of money. And the world can't be fixed because the rest of us are hoarding peace. We don't engage. We sit back. We don't want the conflict. We don't want to get in the middle of it. We don't want to sacrifice a little bit of our peace to help the future. We're not as strong as the kids in the West Bank and Gaza, where we could go walk into sniper fire because we don't want to get in the middle of it. To make the future a little bit better, we got to engage. If you're not engaged, you need to engage. What do you need to engage in? You need to engage in learning. Thinking about something else. Perspective is key to effective communication. If you don't have a wide perspective, you can't communicate with a lot of people. And our biggest problem is we live in our own little pods. We live in our own little pods of people like us. And we hoard that peace, and we hoard the amazing things about us. And we don't explore the amazing things about other people because we're scared of those people. We don't know those people. You need to engage with other people, not like you, not in your pod. Find some other people, learn something, and come back and teach us. We need to grow our minds, create new pathways. That's why I'm lost in the brain scan or the neuroscience of it all. Create new passageways. That's how you develop a wider perspective, and you can communicate the piece that you have to other people more effectively when you have a wide perspective. It's not just the kids' brains we need to cultivate. We need to cultivate our own brains. We need to expand them. Why would somebody say something that's crazy? I say stuff, people, they think I'm crazy. Say, well, this man, he doesn't think he's black. What's wrong with him? He don't want to be a brother. He doesn't think he's black. You don't know what a brother is if you still see black, you know? But you have to go meet other people not like you. You have to get out of your tribe. You have to leave your pod. You have to expand your brain and connect those passageways so you can understand why somebody would say something like that. What is the significance of that? What is the criticality of our time that we failed at every opportunity to evolve our governments and our social models that govern all of us? Why? If we solved crime a long time ago, can we not deploy a society that's crimeless? There are many crimeless societies all over this planet. Many. A lot of towns in America that have no crime for decades. What is their model? What do they do? Is it what the neuroscientists and the behavioral scientists are telling us? Why don't we take that at the grassroots level and give it to the leaders who are designing everything? Remove the structures that create and destabilize communities so we can have a million Nikola Teslas, so we can cultivate the human brains, not just the children, but our own. Increase a wider perspective, connect the dots so we can be innovators and we can do more than what we've done in the last couple hundred years as we paused innovation and evolution. It sounds crazy. It does. We've innovated so much in the last 50 years ago, we had telephones with cords. Barely had telephones. I think we could have been in Alpha Centauri by now. But all of our Nikola Teslas, they come every couple generations. And when they come, they work for big business. They work for JP Morgans that control them. If Nikola Tesla didn't work for JP Morgan, if we didn't have this big business greed structure where he had to get patents and make money to survive and work for some psychopathic JP Morgan trying to hoard wealth and make money with electricity, can you imagine where we'd be if we didn't live in a monetary based society where our geniuses couldn't just go do genius stuff? Have genius kids. He could have had 20 kids. We could have had Nikola Teslas everywhere. Free energy. We could have freed the world. But we keep supporting these systems that should go away. Systems that deny the cultivation of human brains, that put them in menial labor, menial careers, menial jobs that robot software and dumb bacteria can do. Brother Mike says we're on the threshold of a new dawn, and I think we are. I think we are. I think a lot of people are really starting to see the light, but we still got to engage. Jeannie, yes, we need a growth mindset. We got to have a growth. We have to have a mindset that's based in growth. We want to grow things. Growing is evolving. Growing is getting better at things. Growing is learning. Alan said, if the media is pushing a profit, run. Please don't listen to the propaganda. And I have to agree. If the media is promoting somebody, usually it's not a good person. I don't call it the mainstream media. It's more of the corporate media. It's really more of the psychopathic big business media, because the media is big business. The media supports only big business, greed-based narratives. They would never give you a guru. They'll never give you someone, a Christ. They'll never give you a Buddha. They'll never give you a Muhammad. They'll never give you anybody that wants to do anything other than promote corporate greed. If they're popular in the media, the corporate greed media, then they are popular greedy. Somebody said the other day, says, you know, well, in terms of leadership and prime ministers and governors, that you can't get close to that seat unless you're already one of them. I kind of think that makes sense. The only way you'll get popular, get close to being a candidate for anything that controls these big corporations, you already have to be on board, or they won't even let you get there. They won't even let you get close to having a voice. Brother Augustine said, a cage surrounding you can be made of gold, but it's still a prison. Y'all listen to deep people like Augustine. Y'all listen to this brother Lopez. Listen to what he's saying. Do you hear him? Do y'all hear what he's saying? You can have a golden prison. It can be beautiful. Nice cars, big houses. Go to Starbucks, get your latte. But it's a prison. It's a forced labor prison. Not made of steel, but of gold. But yet still a prison. You're just doing a little better than the slaves a little lower down in the lower sections of the prison. We got to get out of that slave mindset. We got to get out of an incarceration mindset, that it's a good idea that we be incarcerated to big corporations and careers, and that we weren't designed to do this. We don't have the fangs. We don't have the muscles. We just have the brains, and we can use these brains to make tanks, or we can use these brains to make starships. Get us the heck out of here. Find the abundant resources out there. We're not overpopulated, but we will be. It's coming. And we're either going to murder a whole bunch of people to reduce that population, or we're just going to go to the stars and realize there's so much more out there that we don't have to fight over what's down here. There's one purpose to life, love. That means no stealing anything from anyone. I think we can all agree. We all have a natural right to air, water, food, and the ability to dwell someplace. Oh, sister, that's a little long. I can't see the bottom of it. Someplace, and the expectation to be able to rely on your fellow humans when you're not able to take care of yourself, to not harm you. I can't get down to the rest of it, but yes, we can rely on each other. We can take care of each other. I said, I don't believe in healthcare. That makes no sense to me. None of that, all of that's stupid. Don't let people die. That's what we've always called it. That's what we do in our families. Your family isn't a monetary society. It's not a monetary economy. When someone gets sick, you take care of them. When somebody's hungry, you feed them. That's who we are. Makes you feel good when you make a nice dinner for the family and they eat, fill their bellies, they feel good. It makes you feel good. If you sit there and you look at them starving, does that make you feel good? Does that make you, Nikki Haley, you're okay with your income coming in? By you starving people? Look at your family. That's who we are. That's what we are. Crystal is asking, how do we convince those that can't see they are slaves? They will fight for their slavery and cages to death. Yes, they will, Crystal, because they've made slavery very popular. They've made slavery delicious. They've made slavery, like Augustine saying, with golden cages. So the slaves don't know they're slaves, like Harry Tubman said. I'm not one to force anybody, Crystal. Like, I don't know how to force people, and I wouldn't want to know how to force people. And if I did know how to force people, I wouldn't force people. I think all we can do is tell them the truth and live the truth. That's all we can do. Tell them the truth and live the truth. Keep walking ourselves out of slavery. Keep walking ourselves out of forced labor into a society where we cultivate brains and we cultivate human beings. And when they speak up, tell them the truth. In time, they'll receive it. Like, I don't believe in forcing people. All we're doing is planting seeds, but we're having peace and patience and letting that seed cultivate itself. Because every now and then they'll come back. I have friends that'll do it. They don't say much on my timeline, but they'll come back every now and then. They'll get a little something. They listen to they look at what you guys are writing. They sometimes look at what I write and they want to fight with me. And that's the funniest thing. Like, there are a couple who still want to fight. I'll plant a seed and I'll step back. And they'll look at your thought. You know, they know me. My friends know me. And a prophet is not sent to their own land. So they know me. They don't trust anything I say. They grew up with me. I used to jump off the roof with a cape. I can't be that smart. But then they look at what you guys write in the comments. And they're like, wait a minute, somebody else believes this too? Somebody else believes in brain scans? Huh? Is that science? Oh, wow. Maybe I should question some of the vaccines, huh? And they don't, but they come back and they'll, you plant the seed. They'll come back for a little water. They'll come back for a little sun. But you have to be patient, I think. And when you beat people over the head with something, that's how you chase them away. That's why I don't believe in this idea that, these religions, Christianity, Muslim, Hindu, Buddha, these things, that Taoism, and some are worse than others, but that you push these on other people. You don't push it on other people. If you are the truth and you live it, other people will want to be it and live it, right? It's like the guy was saying is that, you can't, Emrys, you can't, if you have to enforce a law, it's not a good law. If you got to enforce your religion, you don't have a religion. You have a cult. It sucks. You can't force people. If what we're saying is real and we do have these golden prisons that we live in, these cages, other people will gravitate toward when they see it. They'll see it in their own times. We don't force these things on people. All we do is plant seeds. And if it's good and it's true, it'll work. We got to believe in this collectivism, this collective society and how our brains work. And that if it's true and it's good, it'll work. Like, I'm an anarchist. I do believe in that. We don't need to force each other. We just need to educate each other. We need to teach each other. We need to share with each other. And the more people we can pull in through planting the seed and being patient with them and just feeding them as they want to be fed and not forcing it down their throats, then they can bring their experience into the fold, right? And that's when we not only grow in size, but in experience, and then our brains grow. Like, we make more connections because now this guy who used to work in manufacture vaccines, that's actually how that's actually how I started to question the flu shot. Is I had a friend of mine who was a scientist who worked on the flu shot. And when she told me a few things, it took me a few years to really understand what she was telling me. But you bring other people into the fold and they'll share their experiences. And that's how we grow and we become better. And our brains, they make new connections and we cultivate our own. So I don't think that we push anybody into anything. I think that we plant seeds, we share, but we got to have that joy and peace that we don't have to force it. But you don't need to force anything that's good. You don't need to force it on people. If you have to force it, it's not good. If you got to force your society on them, you got to go bomb towns and weddings to get your society over there, you don't have a good society. Your society sucks. If America actually was spreading freedom and democracy and peace and love, it would be viral. People would just grab it. Countries, oh, how can I get some more of America? I want some America. Bring America here. We need America. We need it. We need it. We need their society. It works. It's wonderful. I've been there. I've checked it out. We've scouted it. We need this. But when you got to send drones and tanks and bombs and murder and kill people, what you have sucks. And it's hard for people, I think, to gaze in that mirror. It's hard for people because we're raised indoctrinated, especially in America. We're raised that, oh, we're the best and we're the brightest and we're the great. We have a good society, and we don't. We're not the brightest. We're not the best. We do not have a good society. We might have a good construct. We might be able to share that construct with others. There are good things about American society, but those good things can't be cultivated with the bad. The bad has to go away. There are other things Iran does better in their society. We need to bring some of their good into our society, not destroy their society and force our evil on them. You have to live by example. Like Elaine said, you got to live by example. If what you profess is true, it'll work. It'll happen. Push it a little bit. I'm pushing a little bit. But if your pastor is Christ-like, your pastor will have spiritual gifts and do amazing things. You know, the person who leads you is like Muhammad, then that person will be doing those things too. If the person can't do those things, then maybe you need to be leading yourself. Maybe y'all have something that you jointly believe in, but you need to explore it for yourself. Like Jeannie just said, yes, everybody needs to have their own moment of clarity. Let people, love people enough to let them figure it out. Give them the facts as they need it, but don't be arrogant. Don't beat them over the head. Don't make them, don't call them. And we all have to work on it. Sometimes I check my language, you know, but don't offend them. Don't call them stupid and dumb. You know, they're ignorant, but it's not like an unintelligent ignorant. A lot of intelligent people who are ignorant. They have high intellects, but you'll never bring them into a human fold, and you'll never pull them out of their tribalism if you offend them. So we have to talk to people in ways where we don't offend them. That's how we make our thing go viral. Because if you're if you display the same hate and anger that they do, why would they want to be like you? What do you know? How could you be a humanist and you're fighting with them on a thread, cussing them out, and they're cussing you out? How in the world could you be in tap with anything good? You're just like them. You might be in tap with a few things good, but there's something that's missing because you're displaying violence. You're displaying that verbal violence. Think about that. Think about that. We got to give people a chance. Now, there's humor, though. I don't. Humor is a little something different. I think we lost out when we lost our comedians. When we lost our comedians that used to joke about everybody. Our comedians never used to let anybody take anything too seriously. Never took themselves seriously. Now you got a lot of people who take themselves seriously, and it's nothing serious about you. Nobody should be taking you seriously. You're a fool, just like the rest of us. We're all 98% monkeys. Don't make me post the picture of the monkey playing with himself. Don't do it. I'll post it. Shoot, I lose all my Christian friends too. I love y'all. I always talk about my Christian. We brothers. But I talk about y'all because. Oh boy, I know I'm in. I had to look at my thread. I had a thought this morning too. I was thinking about Christianity. We are sending so many people to heaven that God running out of room for us. We not gonna get to go. Ain't gonna be no room in heaven for Christians. There's no room. We're full capacity. Christians and sent too many people here. And plus the fact that we sent so many people to heaven, so many Muslims to heaven, we don't have a right to be there ourselves because we're not actually Christian. We're just a cult. Brother Gown said, my pastor is nature. And my pastor too, Gown. My pastor is nature. Gotta have pastors that are pastors. My pastor, some ministers, some people. My pastor, I have a homeless pastor. I have a guy, there's a guy I know, he has so much, and I don't even know if he's even still there. He might have died a long time ago, but he had so much peace and love with where he was, even though he was living on the street. My pastor is plants. And my pastor is the universe. And my pastor is people online. I don't even know what they look like, Brother Gown. They got avatars, but they have so much wisdom. You know? But anyway, that's what I'm thinking about today, you guys. I think that we need to really think about the brains that we're cultivating. I think the ancients actually knew what happens when you meditate. I think they knew what happens when you focus on the bigger picture. I think they knew what happens when you don't get bogged down in the politics and the details. But I think that's why there are temples all over this planet and they're overgrown and we need to uncover them. Some of the scriptures say that we are a temple. We need to uncover ourselves. We need to uncover our humanity. We need to really go back to thinking about maybe we need to make a society that cultivates human beings that act human and not cultivate mental illness that decays humans and prepares them for a coming more violent time. I think we need to listen to the scientists. I think we need to listen to the neuroscience. I think we need to listen to those religions that talk about loving each other and not judging each other, because we become what we're supposed to become. Our brains are tweaked for that. If you were born where they were born, you'd be doing the exact same thing. If you were born there, you'd be strapping on a suicide vest and blowing up a city. And I think when you get to that spot where you don't judge people, then you feel like your brothers in your family. When you think about somebody enough that you have empathy for them, they're no longer your enemy. Who said that? Somebody, it was a good teacher somebody exposed me to yesterday. I was posting a few quotes mine. You know, but you don't have any enemies. We don't have any enemies. Perhaps, no, there's one. The only enemy we have is ourselves. That's the enemy. Our enemy has always been in the mirror. Let me see if I can find that quote and I'm gonna let y'all go. It was Thich Nhat Hanh, which I probably said his name completely wrong. Love him to death. He's got some powerful quotes. He says, to love our enemy is impossible. The moment we understand our enemy, we feel compassion towards him or her, and he or she is no longer our enemy. We are in a compassion apocalypse. We've lost compassion for each other, and because we don't have compassion for each other, we have enemies. If you have enemies, it's because you lack enough compassion. That's where we got to get to, y'all. I'm gonna leave that one on Brother Thich Nhat Hanh. Our enemy is in the mirror. We have to get to that place. So anyway, you guys, uncover the temples. You guys have a wonderful day. I love y'all to death. We can do better. We can do so much better in every area of our society. We have to keep pushing forward and stop letting money drag us back. Y'all have a wonderful day. Love y'all to death. Bye-bye.